This Formula One Sao Paulo Grand Prix 2025 Betting Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog is hooking up new customers. Play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACE, SGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. We know. NASCAR season's over. We get it. There's no more races for the NASCAR 2025 season, but motorsports never stops in this world. That's the great part about being a motorsports fan, as Cody opened my eyes a couple of years ago to the wonderful world of all motorsports, and that includes, Cody, Formula One, that still has 4 races left this season, one of which is this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Still 4 races to talk about. You think about it, there's only 89 days until the Clash of the Coliseum, Rod. That means in about 82 days or so, we're going to be talking bets for that race. We have 4 races to get us through this. They're not every single week, so it's a little spread out, which is nice. Las Vegas Grand Prix being one of those. That's awesome. And, if you're a longtime listener of this, we had the F1 Gambling Podcast for a little bit. Rod and I did that. We talked the F1 stuff. Got to a point where it was like Max Verstappen won every week. There was not a lot of exciting stuff going on in the F1 world. And so that kind of got shuffled out of the mix or whatever. But it's been a series we've still followed. And now this is lining up to be one of the most exciting seasons since the Verstappen-Hamilton battle of 4 or 5 years ago at this point. This season has been amazing. You don't know who's going to win the Drivers' Championship. The team championship is already locked up, but the Drivers' Championship is still very exciting. There's 3 guys in the mix, and it's been different winners just about every week almost. I mean, a few guys that are winning all the races, but not one guy who's dominating everything. You don't have a guy that's minus 250 going into the week to be the winner, which is great to see. So, hey, it's NASCAR off season. We got an opportunity to talk about Formula One. It is different than NASCAR racing for sure. It's its own discipline, but it's very fun. It's really exciting to bet on, and we're going to get to it when we get into the bets here. There's a lot of different ways to bet on F1 racing that you don't get to bet on NASCAR racing, which is fun and exciting as well. So I'm pretty pumped to have these next 4 F1 races to talk betting and really focus in and dive in on the remainder of the F1 season.
Ironic, though, that the year that we stopped the F1 Gambling Podcast is the most exciting year that F1 has in several years. And look, I mean, that tends
Chicken
to happen.
or the egg? Was that our fault? Or
You're welcome, F1 fans. You're welcome for an exciting season. No, but listen, I echo your sentiments too, especially on the betting aspects of it, because I remember the very first time we kicked open an F1 Gambling Podcast, and I opened up the books, and we're so used to just seeing top 10s, top 5s, groups, whatever, and then all of a sudden there's this whole world of like first retirement or fastest pit stop or all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like I mean, there's gonna be some. If you were an F1 Gambling Podcast fan, don't worry. We've got some favorites, our greatest hits coming to you during this episode. But, yeah, I mean, it opened a whole new world of prop betting, and I thought, man, this is amazing. And so to get back into it, Cody, because, again, it's a long season, right? For NASCAR, it feels like forever. And so we stare at the same things. But then to crack back open this and go, this is fun again. Like, I almost feel like it's just a different reward for the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agreed. I love it. We did talk some F1 last off season, which we'll do as their season comes to a close. And TK said, still sitting on some Oscar championship tickets from when you recommended him preseason. A shame he's choked away the lead. Yeah, we'll kind of break down the standings here in a few, but Oscar Piastri, if I picked a favorite driver, he is the guy that I would pick. And I was obviously this past weekend perusing through all of my futures bets from last off season, and I noticed a couple of plus 850s all in there on Oscar, and I'm like, well, it's feeling pretty good. He did lose the lead this last race, but still only 1 point behind his teammate. So we'll talk about that all here in a few. But yeah, I've got those futures to kind of sweat out as we go forward, which is a lot of fun as well.
It is a lot of fun. JDK checking in saying, evening fellas, evening JDK. Look, while you're browsing around and while you're looking for stuff to listen to outside of the NASCAR realm, college basketball tips off this week. Make sure to subscribe to the College Experience to catch their daily podcasts and download the SGPN app where you can get this podcast, the free college basketball picks, and all your favorite stuff going on in the world of sports. Like Cody said, it has been an exciting and intense and just an absolute entertaining Formula One season as, there's been different winners. Max hasn't won 25 races in a row coming into this one. It feels like it's just an all-out slugfest between really the top four drivers in the standings. And that, like Cody alluded to, is Lando Norris now, who sits at the top, 357 points. Oscar Piastri sits 1 point behind him at 356. Verstappen, not a distant third, but it almost feels like it in a way. 321 for Max, and then George Russell definitely way back there in 258. But I'm telling you, this McLaren and Max Verstappen battle all season long has just provided so much entertainment that the last couple of years have been missing. And I mean, I'm here for it, honestly. That's really what we wanted the last couple of years. We were asking for this.
Yeah, this is exactly what we've been asking for, exactly what we wanted. I love it. I did want to mention NASCAR. There's already some futures odds dropping out there. Daytona 500 odds, championship odds. So next week we're going to start diving into all that stuff. So don't worry. This isn't going to be full F1 during the off season. Plenty of NASCAR stuff to talk about as well. But hey, we got racing to bet on, so let's bet on it. But yeah, this battle is great. So you got the two teammates for McLaren, Lando and Oscar Piastri at the top of the board here. And, you look at NASCAR and it's like, oh, you had two Hendrick cars, you had two JGR cars. Like, okay, but in F1, generally, you've got one teammate that's the better teammate. The team bends over backwards for. They're the clear leaders. Their team orders are not allowed in NASCAR. You can't say, hey, slow down and let this guy pass you. You can do that, and you're almost encouraged to do that in F1. McLaren has not treated it that way. They've treated it as 1A and 1A. You guys are both our drivers, whereas Red Bull, whoever the second driver is, which has changed a few times this year, but Yuki Tsunoda right now, you bend over backwards and do whatever you have to do to help Max Verstappen out. That's not the case at McLaren. That's gotten them in this position where these two guys are sort of battling it out. I think McLaren likes that. I think Zach Brown loves that as the guy in charge of everything, but you have to be sort of careful because you don't want to give up that lead to Max Verstappen, who was way back for a while, but has quietly creeped back in, and he's within distance. We got a couple of sprint races coming up, including this weekend, which we can dive into what the sprints are here in a few, but that's extra points on the table out there for a guy like Verstappen to have that opportunity to catch up some more. So we're in for a really exciting 4 final races of F1, which is really something you haven't been able to say in a good 3 or 4 years, where Max Verstappen was dominating the series. I mean, he would win. What did he win? 22 races the one season, 2 seasons ago or whatever. I mean, he was literally winning every week, blowing everybody out of the water. Nobody else had a chance, and that's just not the case anymore. And honestly, you look at the top of the grid, and I would say that there's 5 guys right now that can win any given week, and you can throw in 6, 7 with Lewis and Antonelli that are nice 6, 7 that are right there, also capable of getting wins. So really exciting in F1 right now.
Well, and so this started out with just McLaren pretty much dominating the entirety of the first part of the season. Max would pop his head in every once in a while. You would get just a different little winner here and there, but it was Oscar and Lando just sort of passing off wins to start the season. And now Max is starting to kick it in. Like you said, he's remembering, oh, wait, I was the dominant driver.
It got so bad that the team principal for Red Bull left. Like, he's out, he's done, he's gone, right? I can't even think of his name at the moment, but you watch Drive to Survive, he's all over it, and he left because things had gone so bad for Red Bull to start the season. They were having issues with the second driver. They flopped guys out. Yuki Tsunoda's kind of settled into that role. But yeah, I mean, it was, and all the talk was Max is leaving. He's done. He's going to go to Mercedes. And now the second half of the season has been a huge resurgence. And, Oscar Piastri had kind of run away with things. I was feeling really good about the futures at that point. Lando's crept back in because Oscar's kind of hit a wall and gone down, and performance has not been as good. But then now Max is right there, definitely within striking distance over these final 4 races, and it's going to make for a really exciting showdown.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Red Bull starting off the year trying out Liam Lawson. That one did not pan out well for them, and yeah, bringing in Yuki Tsunoda to sort of shore up all of the bleeding, and really honestly, Horner was the principal for.
Thank you, JDK. Christian Horner. Yes.
Good job, Chris. Good job, JDK. But yeah, no, I mean, Yuki Tsunoda for Red Bull. But see, you talked about with 1A. Even when we had Checo in the second seat at Red Bull, right? It was 1A, 1B. And even Checo was doing good.
There wasn't even an A or a B. It was Max's 1, Checo's 2. There's no.
But Checo, Checo was getting podiums. Checo was actually running good laps out there, right? He was a good teammate in the points battle, obviously, which is why Red Bull usually ran away with it. So
and I think that Max, what he's been able to do this year, really shows how good of a driver he is, because it's taken. That second car has not really ever been able to keep up. Checo's had good performances and ran well, but Max just overperforming that equipment. And yeah, to TK's point, to be fair, Red Bull has had second driver issues forever since Max took over when the car's built around Max. And yeah, I mean, when you got Max Verstappen, that's what you do, right? Because you have an opportunity to have a generational talent like him. Some would argue best race car driver in the world, Rob. Yeah.
Who would argue that?
When he's around.
Who would argue that?
That's what I've heard. Some would.
I have a NASCAR champion, newly minted and crowned, that will tend to argue against that at all. So, yeah. No, listen, and again, like we said, this has been a lot of fun. This season has been a lot of fun to actually pay attention to, because it's just provided that much more fun. And then we've got to see rookies like Kimi Antonelli and even Ollie Barham, like these guys that are jumping in. They're actually competing, right? And we'll talk about a couple of these guys. And I mean, they're contributing. They're not just back markers.
Yeah, it's a lot of young blood this year. We've had a lot of changes in the offseason. And yeah, you got these young guys in there, and promising future for F1, I think, with some of the performances we've seen from some of them.
I concur. All right, well then, I think we should start getting into some of our F1 bets. But before we do, as we always do, allow me to formally tell you about our good friends over at MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on football and everything else. Plus, their prop builder is second to none. Their motto is bet on anything, anywhere, anytime, in any clothes. I don't think they care about that either. So if you're in your PJs, go for it. Easy deposit, lightning fast payout using cryptocurrency. Totally trying to scope for the best line for you on the German handball, right? Bundesliga. And I'm looking around trying to find you the best line. How about Hanover? They are at plus 154 to beat Lemgo. And believe me, this is going to be a close game. And I think we're going to give the nod to the underdog here in Hanover, Bergdorf. Plus 154 to beat Lemgo in the Bundesliga in handball. You guys, cut that out, because you're going to need that for later. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% bet back bonus up to $500 for new customers. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. We are also brought to you by Novig. Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. Novig, you're getting the best prices. Novig is available in 35 or more states, so go download that Novig app. Get $50 when you spend $5 if you use our promo code SGPN. Get in on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. I was talking to Cody before we got started, and we're talking about how we watch sports differently than most of our friends and family. And, I try to find sports that I just can watch and not have anything invested in and just sort of relax and enjoy the game. And I can't. And the Bundesliga was another one of those where I was like, I'll just watch handball. That'll be fun, right? And then I'm like, oh, wait, there's odds. I can write about this. And sure enough, Bundesliga turned into
But then, see, that's the thing is we're having that conversation. But then, as we talked about, it devolves into, but I can bet on this and I can have action on this, or I can get in fantasy or whatever it is. And I always like having that extra sweat on the games. So it's a good time.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I just want to watch a sport and not care what the outcome is overall. I did that with esports, man. I was watching Call of Duty and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, these guys are actually doing this. I was like, whatever. So, all right. Speaking of a sport that I just wanted to watch for fun, and Cody just ruined that for me. Let's turn to F1, where we have the São Paulo Grand Prix, better known as the Brazilian Grand Prix. We are at the Autódromo José Carlos Pace. We are set for 71 laps around this poor 4.309 kilometer track, set for 305 kilometers, so a little over, 3 miles. This was built in 1973. The fastest lap time here is Valtteri Bottas in 2018 with a 1:10.540. There are 15 corners in this one, and it looks like, Cody, well, there's 2 DRS zones, by the way. It looks like a guitar capo. We're bringing that back. What does the track look like to you?
Okay. Yeah. It's either that or almost like a person on their knees, like really bent over. I don't know.
Or a folded over car seat.
There's
How's
a
that?
thumbs up in the middle of the track if you
do
take
that.
I don't know.
You do that?
Yeah. It's like a thumb. Yeah.
Hey.
Thumbs up.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I got that. Well, it's like a folded over car seat. Let's put it that way too. I think that
There
that
you
could
go.
be
That's what I was thinking, more than a person. Yeah. Car seat. Good call.
Absolutely love it. All right, like Cody said, this is a sprint weekend, which means that we are going to have a different schedule than most Grand Prix weekends because there is the sprint qualifying, knocks out a couple of practices out of there, and then so we got practice 1. That's happening on the 7th. Sprint qualifying also happening on the 7th. The sprint race itself is on the 8th. And then qualifying for the race proper is on the 8th. And the race itself is on the 9th. So remember, all this is all in a different time zone than what we're used to. So it's actually going to be like a decent enough starting time.
Yeah, which is actually nice since it is in Central America, or South America, rather, this week. But yeah, so what is that? Friday that the first practice is, 8:30 a.m. here in the Central Time Zone. So if you're newer to F1 betting or you've not done it before, which, if you're a lot of our NASCAR listeners, obviously you haven't, odds in F1 shift ridiculously crazy. I mean, in NASCAR, Kyle Larson's 5-1. If he goes out and he's fastest in practice, okay, now he's 4-1. Max Verstappen's plus 240 or whatever. If he goes out and he's fastest in practice 1 and then qualifies on the pole, suddenly he's minus 150 or minus 200. It will shift crazy amounts like that both ways, right? Up, down, all over the place. So if we give out these bets now, if you're wanting to bet on any of them, I would bet them sooner rather than later. The odds are likely to change a ton. So obviously that opportunities for post-qualifying to get back in on other things, which is always great too. And definitely conversations we can have in the Discord as well. So, and then the sprint weekend, as we were talking about there, the sprint is essentially another shorter race in advance of the Grand Prix. So they're basically running a sprint race, a quicker race on the day before on Saturday, which pays out points. So in F1, there's 20 cars in the field. That's every week. It's the same 20 cars, and it's 10 teams. Each of them have 2, and they pay out the top 10 positions in the points in the Grand Prix. In the sprint, they pay out the top 8, and it's 8 points for first, 7 down through 1 through the top 8. So when you talk about points finishers, which we will for the regular race at least, that's the top 10. But in the sprint, just note, if you're betting that, the points finishers is the top 8. And then also, when you're placing your bets, make sure you look at what you're betting, because there's practice bets, there's qualifying bets, there's sprint race bets, all of the above. So just sort of pay attention to all that. But in this crazy points battle that we've got in F1 here, the sprint race is going to be absolutely huge for these three drivers at the top of the board this week.
Yeah, and again, this is all about positioning yourself for the final couple of races of the season to try to keep yourself in touch. Obviously, before, we've never had that problem because Max Verstappen's run away with everything, and it's all been
a lot of times by this point in the season, he'd already had the season wrapped up, which, again, the downside of the season-long points championship, but you're getting the upside of it this year where it's coming down to the very end. So shout out to John checking in the chat. Racing ain't over, boys. Glad to see some F1 picks from you guys again. Us too, John. We're pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it too just as the season was drawing to a close, and we were trying to figure out, was like, well, last year we had the F1 Gambling Podcast, so there was no real worries about it. We were just going to carry on as if nothing ever happened and fill in. But we were like, you know what? Our listeners will definitely benefit from this. And, even if you're not an F1 fan, now's a good time to get in because there's nothing to watch on NASCAR.
Like we just talked about, it's fun to find other sports and find ways to get that sweat and have that little bit of action. And this is a different way to go about it, right? Maybe you're not an F1 fan. Maybe you've never watched it before. What better way to jump into it than I really like the case they made on these two bets. Let me place those and watch this weekend. Let's see what it is, right? And again, it's completely different racing from NASCAR. It's a different, well, it's still motorsports. It's a different discipline, but as you get to learn it, as you get to know it for what it is really exciting, and it's really fun to follow.
It most certainly is, and I think it will be that way as well this weekend. All right, Cody, well, let's crack open our betting card for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, and where are we starting?
Let's do it. We're going to start with the sprint race. We've each got a bet for that, so this is that Saturday race, of course, the shorter one. I'm going to take Max Verstappen. You get him plus 155 to win this one. I know we just talked about how he's not been dominating everything this season, but he's looked really good here lately, and as we mentioned with the point situation, he knows that he's got to go out there and he has got to perform to the top that he can and snag every point he can. 8 extra points available in this race. If he can go out and claim all of them, obviously, Lando and Piastri could finish right behind him, but he's got to get every single point that he can to try and catch these guys. I think we're going to see that from him this weekend. The last sprint weekend was just 2 races ago, rather, when they raced at Cody here in the U.S., of course. Max Verstappen won that sprint race. He also won at Belgium in the previous sprint race. So he's won the last 2 sprint weekends that we've had. Trouble in Miami earlier on the season, 3rd place in China, but that was all the way back in March before Max was back to the Max that he is currently when he was struggling earlier this season. So, but to the point of he's been running well lately. He's won 3 of the last 5 races, and he's been on the podium 6 races in a row, finding himself up front every single week. He needs to go out there and get points. I think that Max Verstappen, who won here last year, by the way, and I believe actually won here the last 2 years. Yes, he won here in 2024 and 2023. So been good at this track, which you're going to get that a lot of places because he won a lot of races the last few years. But been good here. Also, weather going to be a factor this weekend, which we're going to really dive into more. But weather's been a huge factor the last 2 years here. Insane factor last year. I think we lost 3 cars we lost 2 cars last year on the warm-up lap, like the opening lap before they even start, and then there was a wreck on the first lap, just craziness. But weather's going to be a factor once again. Max Verstappen, one of the best guys when it comes to weather, which I love for this. So give me Max Verstappen to win the sprint race at plus 155. Found that one over on Caesars.
Bust out those full wet tires, baby. We're going to need them for sure. That rooster tail is going to be long behind these guys if it does happen. Hunter checking in saying just listening for the hell of it. Never really followed, but maybe this year. It's always been NASCAR. Hey, listen, just one.
That's what I'm saying. Like I grew up a big NASCAR fan. Everything was dirt tracks, NASCAR. We follow and even IndyCar. Like we'd follow a little bit because they would race at Kansas and Iowa, so we'd always go to those races. But really, it was stock cars, right? And I never watched an F1 race until 4 or 5 years ago. And it was like, oh, let's kind of check this out. And like I mentioned, don't go into it thinking it's NASCAR because it's not. But for what it is, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, they've got the reality show thing on Netflix. That is pretty cool. It kind of gives you some backstory, especially at this point, if you go back and watch those first couple of seasons and you really get to know some of the guys that are still hanging around. It's pretty cool for sure. But yeah, and hey, betting on it DFS. We'll have the $5 DFS game, which we've been doing all season. It's been a little bit lower participation levels, but now that NASCAR's over, it'd be great to have some of you guys jump in on that. It's always a ton of fun. And I think the plan currently is for a F1 DFS episode later on this week, Rod.
I think that is exactly in the cards for us as well. All right. I have grown to love Kimi Antonelli. I don't know what it was. The beginning of the year, I was like, wow, this is, he's taking over for Lewis Hamilton. What are we in store for this rookie kid, right? George Russell now is elevated to the top of the Mercedes charts, and here comes this Kimi Antonelli. I mean, literally a kid, right? I don't think he was even old enough. Well, okay, it's Europe, so he's old enough to do everything at 18. But, if he was here in the States, in fact, I think it was here in the States and he couldn't drink, and I think it was on the podium in one of ours, and he couldn't even drink the champagne because he was too young to drink.
That's what's crazy, because you can in some countries, but obviously not in this. He's only 19 years old, so
18 just a few scant months ago. So but Kimi Antonelli has come on and really done well for himself so far this season, and that's sort of translated even into the sprints where he did take the pole. Right, he took as a rookie took the pole in Miami. So Kimi Antonelli is not this little rookie that is going to come in and he didn't, he just made noise right from the get-go. So unfortunately, the bet that I'm going to make, he's failed to do every time that he's been in a sprint race, but he's been so damn close, right? So I'm going to take Kimi Antonelli, top 6 finish in the sprint race. Remember, this is the sprint race, not the main race. So make sure you're looking out for that. But Kimi Antonelli to finish top 6 in the sprint. This is a plus 125, not really as juicy as you'd like it to be, but the books know that this is a Mercedes car, and the books know that Kimi's been very close to this in each and every sprint race. In Miami, he took the pole, but he finished 7th in that race, so just one spot outside of the top 6. China, he finished in 7th place as well. And then, unfortunately, in Belgium, he had a 17th place finish in the sprint race, so that was sort of the outlier in that. But came back in Coda and finished 8th in that sprint race. So literally 1 to 2 positions outside of this, and Kimi has put together just a fantastic season overall for just being a rookie. And, I mean, again, we're talking a sprint race here, and there's a lot of strategy that goes on to it. And Kimi's sitting 7th in the points right now as a rookie. How amazing is that, right? He's behind guys like Lewis, Charles Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen, Piastri, and ahead of guys like Albon, Hulkenberg, all the Carlos Sainz, even Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, actual names. And here he is sitting in 7th place overall in the points. Running a pretty good last few races, actually. He's got 4 top 10 finishes in the last 5 races, and then he's got 3 top 6 finishes in the last 4 Grand Prix. So, putting together a pretty solid run. There was a span there between Spielberg and the Dutch Grand Prix where he was sort of struggling, right? 19th at Spielberg, 16th at Silverstone, 16th at Spa, and then a 10th place finish in the Hungaroring, and then 16th at the Dutch Grand Prix. But he's starting to put himself back together again, get back up to where he was to start the season, where he cranked out 3 top 6 finishes in a row and 5 in 6 races when he started. Kimi driving the hell out of this Mercedes, and I'm here for it. So I'm going to give him a chance to crack that top 6 finally in the sprint race and make my youngest happy, because she loves her some Kimi Antonelli.
Of course she does, Rod. I really like this play. He's been great this year, as you mentioned. He just turned 19 back in August, so a very young kid stepping into some of the big issues. He replaced Lewis Hamilton, who, of course, left and went over to Ferrari, but he's had a hell of a season this year. He's been sticking up there with the big 8, right? We kind of got the big 4 teams in this series, and he's held his own very much in that. So I like this play. Hunter was asking if the sprint is if the sprint race is like qualifying for NASCAR. Winner starts on the pole, so it's its own separate thing. So you'll have a practice session. So on non-sprint weekends, there's actually 3 practice sessions, but sprint weekends is just 1 practice session. So they'll have a practice session, then they'll qualify for the sprint race. They'll run the sprint race. That's all its own separate deal. They award the points for that. Then after the sprint race, they'll actually qualify again for the Grand Prix. There's 3 rounds of qualifying. Basically, everybody can go out whenever they want to for whatever. I don't remember what the set time is. They drop the bottom. I think they drop the bottom 5. Then they drop the bottom 5 in the second round, and then the top 10 basically just go, and set the top 10 for that. So that's kind of how things work over there. F1 app is great, by the way. It's got all that laid out, what times and everything. So I would highly recommend downloading that. And then, yes, John, the plan is to have a DFS and Underdog. Hopefully, Underdog's been really good about getting F1 stuff up early in the week for that. So hopefully we'll be able to do DFS talk and Underdog talk all in one big fantasy show either tomorrow or Thursday. We haven't got that far in life.
We're sort of playing this one by ear this week. I mean, most
it's a little less of a rigid schedule now that the season's off, right?
It's true. It's very true. Yeah, most people are on vacation right now. Not us. We're still grinding through to make sure we get you content out that's relevant to you. So, all right. Well then, Cody, where are we going next?
Okay, so those were our sprint race bets, right, for Saturday's sprint race. So now we're going into the regular Grand Prix on Sunday. And I'm going to start off with sort of an interesting one here. I'm going to take Pierre Gasly for a top 10 finish. You can get him at 5-1 over on ESPN. And he races for the Alpine team. And so you can bet on the team to get a double top 10 finish or a double points finish. So I'm going to bet on him and his teammates, which is Franco Colapinto, to both finish in the top 10. This is 80-1. Now, it's a long shot for a reason. This has been the worst team in F1 so far this year. They're dead last in the Constructors' Championship. They've not been great, and they've not been overly impressive. But there's been some flashes from both of these drivers, which I like. And the last couple of years, they've actually done this. So, as I mentioned before, weather race, there could be some attrition. Last year, we had 2 guys wreck out on the warm-up lap. Then you have a wreck. Suddenly, if there's cars missing from the race, it makes it a little easier to find your way into the points, right? So last year, the last 3 years they've done this, because last year Esteban Ocon finished second, Pierre Gasly third. So they got a double podium. I can't imagine what the number was on that. I don't remember, but had to be absolutely insane. And then 2023, they finished 7th and 10th place. 2022, it was 5th and 8th place. So 3 years in a row, this team's done it. I get they're like the bottom team now, not as impressive, but at 80-1 for both of them to do it, I like it. I really like the Gasly thing, though. So if you go back and you look, he's had third place last year, as I mentioned, 7th place here in 2023 for him as well. Both of those were in the Alpine cars, so he's with the same team, all that fun stuff. Sometimes you get guys that jump around from team to team. Hard to look back at what they've done, but not so much with Gasly here. But he's had some bright spots in the schedule, right? 6th place at the British GP. 10th place at Belgium, 8th place at Spain, 7th in Bahrain, 11th in Australia, 9 top 13 finishes. So when you only need to get to the top 10 for this, finishing inside the top 13 is close, right? You're at least flirting with it, which I like. So 3rd place here last year, of course. I think that he can get in that top 10. I think at 5-1, getting a great number on this. And then Colapinto, his season's been much less disappointing. Actually, he doesn't have any top 10 finishes. But he's finished 11th place in the Dutch Grand Prix, 13th in Canada, 13th at Monaco. So he's flirted with it a little bit at least. He's really going to be the part that's going to be harder of this to hit. That's what makes it 80-1. But the fact that the team's done it 3 years in a row, I think the weather could help. Again, if they're just able to avoid the chaos. Sometimes it's good to have some chaos bets in a race where we've had chaos 2 years in a row, and we could maybe expect it again with more weather this weekend. I like it. So give me Pierre Gasly top 10 at 5-1 and the Alpine double top 10 finish or double points finish. Also, this might be listed as top 10. It might be listed as points finish. Just as you're looking on your books, it depends how they word it. But Pierre Gasly and then the Alpine double top 10, double points finish, 80-1.
Remember when the Alpine double top 10 was, or the double points finish was our like staple?
Dude.
Every week.
Yes, we gave it out every week, and it was like the Kaimi Fairburn bet for the Sports Gambling Podcast. Like he's just going to go out and kick 2 field goals every week. They just keep betting, and it just keeps hitting. Like that was Alpine a couple of years ago. They've fallen on harder times, but even last year when they were bad, got it done here in big time fashion. Getting 2 on the podium, insane. That's not going to happen this weekend. But if we could just squeeze both of them in the top 10, we'll be overjoyed, and it'll be great.
Indeed. All right, I will load you up with my next bet, but I would first like to tell you officially about our friends over at Underdog. Underdog is your home for pick'em entries where you can win up to 5,000 times your entry. come on back this week. We will have you some underdog picks for this Grand Prix. They're actually really good. A lot of times, Underdog has been giving us some really good race projections for these F1 drivers, and we've been able to find some really, really good picks for you, and we're going to do that again later this week, so make sure you come on back for that episode. Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACE, SGPN. Let me tell you about our friends over at Rhythm. Rhythm is crushing it in college football, no surprise, NFL, and now they just added the NBA. Rhythm is also giving away weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same game, or the same type rather, from any model you build. You can win $1,000. Use promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off of your first month. Go download Rhythm and use the promo code SGPN25. I'm gutted, Cody. Absolutely gutted. I had a just a little 3-picker, right? Nothing huge, just a little 3 picks for last night's game in the Cowboys and Cardinals game. And I had Jazz Ferguson higher than his receiving projection. I believe I had Marvin Harrison higher than his receiving projection. So both of those hit. Brandon Aubrey did not get 3 extra points.
And that'd be the one you'd think, like with that Cowboys offense, with how good Aubrey's been this year. I will say the Harrison over receiving yards, I wrote up on my weekly prop article. That was the one bet I placed last night. I loved it. When I found out Brissett was going to be the quarterback, loved it even more. Hammered it. I was like, that's it. That's the only thing I'm playing. Cashed in I think the second play of the second quarter. And it was like, oh, just beautiful. You sit back and enjoy the rest of the game, as we talked about earlier, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely was. And for fantasy purposes, it was the same kind of sweat as well. All right. Back to Formula One, back to Brazil. I'm going to take the resurgent Max Verstappen in the race. Now, this is the race, not the sprint race. This is the actual GP, so make sure we click over the tabs and make sure that you're on the right end of this. But they're giving us a head-to-head over on Caesars, the only head-to-head over on Caesars right now, and it is the Max Verstappen versus Lando Norris show. I'm going to take Max Verstappen, and I'll tell you what. You used to have to take Max Verstappen over the field in most cases the last couple of seasons, and you still weren't getting minus 115. So to get Max Verstappen over one driver at minus 115, I think I like that. Now, last week in Mexico didn't work out for us, or last race rather in Mexico didn't work out for us. Lando wins. Verstappen comes in 3. But the previous 5 races before that, it was Max Verstappen edging out Lando Norris. In the five previous races. I mean, it was 1-2, Max Verstappen a couple weeks ago, and then 2-3 before that. So it's been rather close, right? Obviously, Max won a few weeks back and has won several races since his resurgence. And like I said, it's happened over the last 5 races, 5 of the last 6 races for Max Verstappen. We see him charging his way back, actually winning races again, which, to be honest with you, this week, Cody, and I know you're going to share those same sentiments, you're going to have to beat Max to beat Max. Like that's really, you have to win the race to beat Max in this instance. And I know Lando, I know he's been doing it all season long. I know that he's a fantastic driver with the great credentials, but if we give Max just a little bit of leeway, right? If we give him the opportunity to sort of catch fire again, this could be danger for the field, and I'm not seeing that same sort of fire out of these guys as I'm seeing out of him. And then you look at Lando's finishes here in Brazil: 8th place, 10th place, 18th, 2nd, and 6th. So, again, it's just a matter of, and of course I would read off Max Verstappen's stats from there, but they're just basically all just wins. So it's going to take a lot to beat Max at one of his better tracks. And Lando, like we said, over the last 5 weeks has just not been able to get it done. And, Max in 9 trips here has 3 wins, 6 podium finishes. 3 of the last 5 races have been wins. Cody will lay out the rest of it, but Max is just damn good. And now he's getting better every week. And, yeah, I mean, he's got a championship to go after. Lando's standing in his way. I think at minus 115, that's a hell of a number to be able to just beat one driver.
Yeah, I think you have a guy like Max Verstappen with his ears pinned back, a perfect target right in front of him. you better watch out for sure. I've definitely got more thoughts on him here in a little bit, so I will save those and move on to my next bet. Laura, good to see you, Laura. Just when she was having withdrawal symptoms, we popped up in her feed. Love to see it. So, yeah, thanks for joining us, Laura. Get in on a little F1 action. Might as well have some fun during the NASCAR offseason here. And part of that fun is going to include Gabriel Bortoleto, Rod, another young gun, 21 years old. If you go over to Caesars, they've got some groups over there. NASCAR, they list those groups by letters. We don't do letters in F1, apparently, so it's group 4 over there. But this is kind of more of your shitbox group, right? And I don't there's only 20 cars, so there's not like a Cody. Well, there is a Cody Ware type in this race, but these guys are going to be farther down the board, right? So to help you watch the whole leaderboard, which we'd love to do in NASCAR, we love to do it here in F1 as well. And you get some crazy racing in the back of these F1 events for sure. So I'm going to take Bortoleto in Group 4 over at Caesars. He's plus 330, so you're going to grab a number on him there. He's going up against Esteban Ocon, rather, and Liam Lawson, who, of course, as you mentioned earlier, started the season with Red Bull. Now he's with the Red Bull junior team, the Racing Bulls. But I like Bortoleto this week. 10th place at Mexico last week, 11th place at Baku, 8th place at Italy, 9th place at Belgium, 6th place a few weeks ago as well. Top 11 of 5 of the last 8 races. So kind of started the season pretty rough. Rookie guy, kind of getting used to things, right? But showed a lot of promise here lately. He's been getting more consistent. Top 11, you're right on the edge of getting those, in the points finishing positions and performing well. So you like to see that. He's beat Albon 2 of the last 4 races, Ocon 3 of the last 5. Lawson's only been 2 of the last 5, but point being, in the last few races, he's beat each of these guys multiple times. And you get him a plus 330. Again, part of betting on this is going in and having some fun, right? And that's what we're trying to get back to a little bit. Go in, have some fun. This is going to have you watching the leaderboard up and down. Lance Stroll Cody Ware? Oh, maybe. Yeah. His dad's a lot richer than Rick Ware, but yeah, that's probably a pretty good comparison. So anyways, give me Gabriel Bortoleto, Group 4 over on Caesars, plus 330 over Albon, Ocon, and Lawson.
Yeah,
great law firm, by the way. Albon, Ocon, and Lawson.
The law firm of Albon, Ocon, and Lawson. We win you money or your money back. Love it. All right, I'm going to go a different direction, and we're going to talk about one of these kind of fantastic rookies that have sort of jumped on the scene, and that's one Ollie Behrman. Like, Haas, we were... Nico Hülkenberg back in those days, and obviously when him leaving Haas, they thought, well, we need to go a different direction. We need to go a younger direction. So they bring in Ollie Behrman. Ollie Behrman has done nothing but excite, especially over the last 3 races, right? With 3 points finishes in a row. He's had 4 points finishes in his last 6 races. And, I mean, again, for a rookie, we're talking about Kimi kind of being good, but he's in a Mercedes, so it's kind of expected. But for Ollie Behrman to come and to get points finishes week after week after week in this Haas equipment. I mean, a couple seasons ago, it was Haas, it was Williams, and they were basically the bottom 2 fighting over who was going to be, the first retirement, right? And Hülkenberg had his spots, right? And we knew that, and it was fine. But, it was just, for whatever reason, not really there. But all of a sudden, Ollie Behrman's got this this Haas team believing that they're going to be in contention, right? And so I'm going to take Haas as a double points finisher at plus 625 on this one. Again, we talk about how these odds get kind of crazy. What's crazy also is that the back end of this is Ocon. Ocon, we used to just pencil in as a top 10 finisher, as a points finisher, because he was part of that Alpine team. That's what we would do. We would just say, all right, Ocon is going to be a top points finisher. Well, guess what? There he is. And so Alpine double points was always in play. Well, this week, now it's Ocon, but he's part of this Haas team that's part of the plate. And really only because in Brazil, he's got 4 straight points finishes. Of course, they were with Alpine, but an 8th, a 10th, and a 2nd, right? So a runner-up in that 2024 race here in Brazil. This season hasn't necessarily been all that kind to him. His average finish is 12.9. But here's the thing. His average finish is 12.9. That's just 2.9 spots outside of a points finish. He did have a points finish in Shanghai, a 5th place there, 8th in Bahrain, a 7th in Monte Carlo, which, believe me, a 7th in Monte Carlo, you might as well just call that a win for the Haas team. 9th in Canada, a 10th in Spielberg, a 10th in the Danish Grand Prix, or the Dutch Grand Prix, rather, and then a points finish last week in Mexico City. So this Haas team actually got a double points finish last race, in Mexico. And so I think they could do it again here, given how good Ocon can be on this particular track and how good Ollie Behrman has elevated this Haas equipment into a points contender week after week after week. So give me Haas as I almost said Alpine. Old habits die hard. Haas as a double points finisher at plus 625 over on Caesars.
Yeah, I love it. And you almost said the Haas factory. If you draw in the NASCAR connections, Gene Haas, who owns formerly Stewart Haas and Haas Factory, is the owner of this team as well. And so, this is the American team. There's no American drivers right now, but this is the American team in the grid. Always fun to cheer and root for them. And Gene just loves racing, right? He's much like a Rick Ware, who owns racing, every type of racing there is. Gene has got his hands in NASCAR, got his hands in F1. So you'd love to see it there. All right, we talked about how you can bet on different things, fun things to bet on. One of those is betting on classified finishers. So classified finisher in F1 is finishing 90% of the race. This is a 71-lap race. So I believe if you finish less than 64 laps, you would not be classified. So you have to finish over 64 laps to be classified at the end of the day. Points-wise, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't, other than it's whatever. It's just how the FIA works, I guess, is the best way to put it. But that's how they, quote-unquote, classify a driver. You can bet on it, so I'm all in on it. I am going to, Bet365 is where I found that they had these odds listed, at least currently. I'm going to take the under 17.5. So, again, 20 cars in the field, right? That's an F1 field currently. We're going to have 22 starting next year when Cadillac joins the field. But that's another story for another day. 20 cars in the field. So I'm going to take under 17.5 classified finishers at plus 150. So basically, I need 17 or less cars to finish 90% of the race is what you're looking at. You'll have retirements for different reasons, whether guys wreck out on the opening laps, crash out of the race, motor problems, whatever else, that they'll retire throughout the race. So they don't make it to that 90% rate. That's what you're looking for. I'm also going to take under 16.5 classified finishers. So 16 or less at plus 450. So kind of a mini ladder here on the classified finishers. Looking back this season, last week we only had 15 classified finishers. Okay. Or wait, that was last year, rather. Last week at Mexico, we only had 17 classified finishers. So a couple less. But overall this season, really, we've not had a ton of big attrition races where we've lost a bunch of guys. So no current pattern to kind of go off, but this is me leaning into this track in particular, leaning into the weather that we could potentially, I'm actually sort of hoping for weather this weekend, Rod. That's a lot of my card, okay? I need the weather to keep up and deliver us some fun action here. But if the weather does play a factor, which it looks like it will, again, this is Tuesday, this is worldwide weather, who knows, right? We'll see. But last year, only 15 classified drivers, so obviously you hit both of these pretty easily. Nico Hülkenberg was a DQ as part of that, so 16 before he was disqualified, but still would have gone under this. 2023 only had 14 classified finishers. That was another one where I think there was like 4 drivers got wrecked on the first lap in the crazy weather race. And then even in 2022, only 17 classified finishers. So, of course, you would have hit under 17.5 here at the plus 150. So, again, that's Bet365, under 17.5 classified finishers, plus 150, under 16.5 classified finishers, plus 450.
Whew, yeah, I mean, we are hoping for weather. I will say that I just pulled this up from the weather thing here, and Saturday is a 40% chance of precipitation, so that is the sprint race. And then Sunday, 20% chance. So,
it's gone down from when I looked earlier then around, but yeah. What I saw earlier was a pretty solid chance for both days. So, again, probably depends where you look, how you look, when you look, all that stuff. We'll see on the actual race days. But even if we don't get the weather, I think that this track can still definitely provide some chaos. And I'll be rooting for that myself.
It's a lot of tight quarters racing for sure. So definitely something to look out for. And you know that weathermen are only really ever accurate when they're standing out in the middle of it and can tell you it is precisely raining. So love you all, weathermen. You have a
So you're
job.
telling me there's a chance, right?
Telling you there's a 20% chance of this to happen. All right, I'm going to go to the fastest qualifier, which, you know, translates to the pole for those of us out there. The fastest qualifier for the race, let's give it to Max Verstappen. And only because, right, we just talked about him catching fire and him he's almost the Max of old. He has got, 7 poles this season, and he's got 3 in the last 5 races. And when he hasn't finished on the pole, he's finished second or third in qualifying. So second at the Dutch Grand Prix a few weeks ago, and then second in Marina Bay, and then third in Mexico City. But he is just, again, I mean, he's dialed in. He's dialing himself in. I almost feel like this is a couple of years ago where we were just talking about Max Verstappen nonstop. And I wish that we were talking about it the middle of the season when he wasn't qualifying well. So I'm sorry, he qualified 5th. I'm looking at the wrong thing, but still 5th, 2nd, 3rd were his finish or his starts outside of the pole. But he does have 3 poles in the last 5 races. That was correct. But yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of him being fast on qualifying day, being fast off the box, and you know, if we think he's going to continue this trend, there's no reason for him to not go out and qualify. And you're getting this a plus 180, just a little inside baseball. A couple of years ago, you weren't getting Max Verstappen plus 180 to win the pole. You just weren't. It was not. It was a foregone conclusion.
Probably minus 1,800, and that's not even exaggerating.
No.
Like it was ridiculous. So yeah, again, very, very big on Max this weekend. Already talked about him a little bit. Going to continue to talk about him here in a bit. So I will definitely back you on this one as well. I'm going to go to another fun way to do it is first retirement of the race. So we used to bet on fastest lap of the race because that paid an extra point. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay an extra point anymore. So you're not seeing as many long shot guys pit late for tires, go grab that extra point for the fastest lap. A bit unfortunate. NASCAR started doing it this year. F1 said, well, we can't be like NASCAR and took it away, I guess. But that's okay. So another fun way to get in on some longer shots, and basically everybody's a long shot in this group, is first retirement of the race. So who's going to not finish last? They have to retire from the race. So not get to the end, essentially. But I'm going to take Alex Albon 16-1. It's hard to, like, how do you pick one of these guys that's almost like throwing some darts, right? You're going to have get in a bad position or whatever's going to go wrong. But he didn't finish the race last year, so I'll take that. And he wrecked on lap 1 here in 2023. So we're going to roll with it. 16-1 Alex Albon. He's the lucky draw of the week to be the first retirement for this Grand Prix in Brazil.
Yeah, you feel kind of bad because obviously we were so who was it last year? It was not Lance Stroll was the first retirement. Wasn't it? Oh man, there was.
Oh yeah, Stroll wrecked out last year on the. God, what do they call that? It's like the parade lap, basically. Like they get a buzz lap, a warm up lap, and he wrecked out on that lap last year. And then the previous year, it happened. I think it was 2 guys the previous year that wrecked out on that lap. But yeah, crazy times.
It is much crazy times. All right, I'm going to one of my favorites, and it is the fastest pit stop. Last year, you could just pretty much set this and forget this every single week. It was Red Bull with the fastest pit stop, and they caught on, and they started to shorten the odds for Red Bull fastest pit stop, but we still kept hammering it because it still kept hitting. Well, this season, it's not so much, actually, and I still like Red Bull as the fastest pit stop at 3-1 because the number is great. Overall standings, though, Ferrari is the top of the chart with 515 points. If you don't know, these pit stops if you've never watched a pit stop in Formula One, you're going to blink and you're going to miss it because it's literally up, down in 2 seconds. If it's a 3.5, it's funny because my youngest and I will sit there and, you know, they'll drop it and they'll send the car out and it'll say 2.8. And we'll look at each other and go, 2.8? Little slow. Because it's like 2.2, 2.3. You want it if you can get it under 2 seconds, like McLaren has done 4 times this season. They've got 1.19 or 1.91 is the fastest pit stop by McLaren. 1.94 McLaren fastest pit stop. A couple of those. Red Bull sits there actually in fourth overall with 1.97 is the fastest pit stop for them. They're third on the chart behind McLaren and Ferrari. But listen, this is for old time's sake, right? We've got these guys cooking now. I do believe that we're in for a pretty good run from these guys. And it's always fun to have 3-1 on a pit stop, right? Because guess what? Now you're sweating it. Because I'll just lay it out, right? Ferrari is plus 110. I just told you they are the top of the chart. McLaren's plus 225. If you want to take a nibble on that one, I'm okay with that too, because they do have a lot of fast pit stops this season. But like I said, Red Bull is there at 3-1, a perennial powerhouse in that aspect. Racing Bulls are plus 750, and they've actually got a couple of fast pit stops this year as well. A couple of weeks ago, actually, they had one of the fastest pit stops. So if you really like chaos, if you love having fun with it, they were the fastest pit stop at, I believe, at Coda. So yeah, the Racing Bulls were the fastest pit stop at Coda, 2.18 seconds. So that was fun. But yeah, just give me Red Bull again. This is for old time's sake, and for, I won't do it next week if it doesn't hit. So yeah, that's where we're at on that.
Yeah, I love it. And again, like bringing in all aspects. Now you're sort of rooting for the first guy to be out of the race. You want multiple cars to not finish the race. You got a group that's going to have you looking up and down the leaderboard. Now you're watching pit stop times, which are incredibly fast and exciting. And it's just beautiful. Formation lap, by the way, is what they call it. Thank you, TK. Again, we're NASCAR guys. We know a lot about F1, but yeah, that's all right. We're still learning a little bit.
We're trying to downshift, guys. This is us trying to downshift. We're Denny Hamlin with the sticky clutch right now.
Absolutely. All right, Rod, let's get to the outright winners. Just like the good old days, give me Max Verstappen, plus 160. You can get him over at Caesars for this. Also, you can get him to be to have the fastest lap plus win the race, plus 450 on ESPN. I like that as well. Again, with the fastest lap not being as important for everybody else throughout the field, you don't have somebody just go to lay it down just because they need that extra point. But since I plan on him being out front, I plan on him being fast, I think he's just going to naturally put down the fastest lap. So I'll take it there. He's won here the last 2 seasons. You love that. 6 straight podiums. Things are looking up for the Red Bull camp. Things are looking up for Verstappen. He's won 3 of those last 5. He just won at Coda, of course. He won there, and he was top 3 in the fastest lap market. He won at Baku and did have the fastest lap. Won at Italy, had the second fastest lap. So when he's been winning, he's been close to the fastest lap or getting the fastest lap. And, of course, he won here last year in the weather, plus had the fastest lap. So like that as well. Max Verstappen, he's the guy I'm going to ride with, plus 160 this week. And again, like really the favorites, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri. I think you can make a pretty solid case for each of them, although Piastri's been sort of slumping here lately, but I really am feeling the Max wave this week. And yeah, so yeah, TK said Max is the type who goes for the fastest lap when he can, plus he needs the points. So they're not paying the points anymore, unfortunately, which is the sad part about it. But he will sometimes just do the fastest lap just to prove he can. So you do like that at least. And then a little bit of a longer shot. I am going to throw Charles Leclerc in there, 16-1. I like what I've seen from him lately, kind of figuring some stuff out over there. He's been 5th, 6th, 4th the last 3 here, so decent, not great. Coming off a second-place run last race out, though, at Mexico, 3rd place at Coda. So he's got the positive momentum, 7 podium finishes this year. And he just got engaged to his Italian model girlfriend this weekend. Man is living the dream, racing for Ferrari, getting married to an Italian model. He's going to show up with some swagger this week. Give me Charles Leclerc, 16-1.
Banana Leclerc. Yeah, my youngest. Just, I love her so much when she does this. She comes downstairs. She goes, Dad, Shaw and Alex are engaged. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah. So she showed me the picture, and she was like, oh, look at how cute. And I'm like, yeah, that's.
Yeah, if you're getting engaged to an Italian model, you got to show up on Sunday. So I think you might just do that.
Yeah, you do. All right. Only 4 drivers have won a race this season. That is, obviously, the aforementioned Max Verstappen. We talked about Lando Norris. We talked about Oscar Piastri. Well, what about Lando's fellow countryman, Russell. George Russell in that Mercedes machine is the only other driver besides the top three to have won a race this year. And this is where I scratch my head because he's 16-1 on ESPN right now. Verstappen plus 140 to win the race. Lando plus 175. Oscar plus 375. They got Charles Leclerc at 16-1 to win this race, as well as George Russell. But George Russell's the only other driver outside of these guys that have won a race. And it kind of confounds me that they're giving him such long odds when he's riding a streak of points finishes that goes all the way back to to Spain. That's the crazy part about he's finished outside of the points in Monte Carlo, but since has had a 4th, 1st, 5th, 10th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2nd, 1 at Marina Bay, 6th, and 7th over the last couple of races. So granted, it hasn't been all wine and roses for George Russell lately, but I mean, those are all solid finishes in Formula One, right? If you're finishing within the the podium at the very least, which he's got 8 of them so far this season, along with those 2 wins, average finish of 4.6, right? I mean, we all know that all it takes is a good strategy call or, for him to get on the pole if he does and stay there forever, or even if he finishes or starts second rather and manages to pass Max. I don't know how that happens, but it does anymore, and he's done it already. So for me, I think this is a great opportunity for Russell to get that win and to sort of upset the apple cart on this one. And 16-1 for a guy that is the only other driver to have won. It just makes me kind of scratch my head and think to myself, are they telling us something? And he does have a win on this track, by the way. He won in 2022 and finished 4th last year, led 28 laps in that race, 28 of 71. So he's done it before. I think he could do it again this week.
I like it. No arguments from me.
Beautiful. All right. Get out your pen and paper. It is the first official time for me to tell you in the Formula One world to go over our bets and to write all these down. Cody started you out with Max to win the sprint race. Remember, a sprint race, keep an eye out for that. Plus 155 on Caesars. I said Kimi Antonelli as a top 6 car in the sprint race at plus 125 over on DK. Cody said that Pierre Gasly would be a points finisher at 5-1 and throw in an Alpine double top 10 just for old time's sake at 8-1 on ESPN. I said Max Verstappen over Lando Norris for the race at minus 115 was over on Caesars. Go grab that. And then Gabriel Bortoleto to win Group 4 on Caesars at plus 330 over Albon Ocon, the law firm of Albon, Ocon, and Lawson over there. I said Haas would be a double points finisher at plus 625 over on Caesars. Cody said there would be under 17.5 classified finishers at plus 150 and laddered that up to under 16.5 classified finishers at plus 450. I said Max would start on the pole and be the fastest qualifier as such at plus 180 on ESPN. Cody said, unfortunately, Albon will be the distinction of the first retirement of the race at 16-1. I said, watch those pit stops. Red Bull's back, baby, and they're going to have the fastest pit stop at 3-1 over on ESPN. Cody said Max Verstappen at plus 160 over on Caesars. The race winner and then the fastest lap and race winner on plus 450 over on ESPN. Gave out Charles Leclerc, Banana Leclerc, as the contingency plan at 16-1. And I said George Russell will win another race at 16-1.
Still have racing to bet on. You love to see it, Rod. Pretty excited. Go enjoy a nice, what time is this race? I forgot to look.
9 a.m. Pacific. So,
okay. So yeah, nice. Get up in the morning. You got, there's some overseas. I don't remember where they're at. Are they in Germany maybe? But overseas NFL action. You got the F1 race on. Great way to start a Sunday. I'm excited and pumped to have some racing to bet on.
Absolutely love it. Although I will be on the road at that point. We'll just figure something out. I tape it anyway, so you guys know that.
You don't know how to watch TV on the road, Rod. Come on. It's 2025.
It's true, but I always have to, conversate with the guy that's with me. I can't leave him hanging as he's driving. He's driving. The least I can do is
talk watch to him. Too. If he's driving, it's even better. Then you don't have to worry about not being focused on the road.
That would be so fantastic to have him just watching F1 as we're just driving. But
I would never say that I've done that before. But
felt like old times, Cody. I'm happy to have been able to talk F1 with you. Looking forward to doing it again on the next episode. And then, of course, next week, JDK. Great show, boys. Thank you for sticking around, JDK. We love you.
Thanks, pal. We appreciate it. Yeah, we do love you. Yeah, we'll be back for some DFS talk, underdog picks as well for F1. Hopefully they get those posted in the next day or two here. Stay tuned to the YouTube. We'll, of course, be live as usual. And then, next week, diving deeper into already some futures out. Maybe we get some playoff news and what the format's going to be, all that stuff. Tons of silly season stuff still coming out. Is Denny Hamlin going to retire? No, he's not, Rod. But plenty of fun stuff to talk about. So looking forward to it. Very excited. We've got to wrap up all the fantasy leagues and all that fun stuff too. So I'm working on getting all that done.
Yeah, Denny's like me after just a bad day at work. Like my retirement paperwork are always.
I'm done with this bullshit. No more. Oh, okay.
No, seriously, my retirement paperwork is always within 5 feet of me. So anytime I'm always like, all right, it's time. It's time. So I get him. I understand where he's coming from, and I wouldn't blame him if he did. So, all right. Well then, Cody, we got to let you go. You got stuff to take care of tonight. So let's everybody know where Cody's at on the outside of this place.
Yeah, follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff over there. Tons and tons of football content going on right now. Having a blast with it. So, find me there. Click like, subscribe, share, all the fun stuff. The kids say 6-7, all that. We'll see you guys later on.
Yep, you got Riz, Cody. All right, follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez, where you can just tell me that I should not have said that and remind me of how old I actually am. All right, we'll see you guys next week, or we'll see you guys next episode. Keep an eye out. Join the Discord. You'll get more information on that as well. sg.pn/Discord. All right, we'll see you guys next time for some DFS action. So until then, let's go racing and let it ride.